Before I dive into today's video, I want to share a big disclaimer with you. To be honest, I was hesitant to share my experience with the world of YouTube. This is more of a learn from my experience so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made during this install. This is my first time tiling. I have not tried anything else, but let me tell you why I like the Schluter system in general. Number one, it's a very straightforward install. Number two, the products are readily available locally to me. And number three, the people at Schluter are awesome. Like, I got on the phone with them like at least 3 or 4 times to ask them questions throughout this project. They always answered my questions. They answered the phone. What brands do that these days? Good customer service is something I highly value, and I appreciate that the people at Schluter would always answer my questions. So in this video, I'm gonna share what I did. I'm gonna share the mistakes that I made so that you don't make those mistakes too. And hopefully this information helps you, especially if you're tiling anything for the first time.
Let's start with the floor prep. I had actually hired a tile removal company to come and remove all of my tile for me, but their angle grinder couldn't quite fit under the front of this vanity. So I took this painter's tool and my hammer and I basically chiseled out the rest of the hardy backer so that I would have a clean surface to start working on. Schluter Ditra comes in a roll. It's really lightweight and easy to cut. I actually cut out my pieces early on in this build when I didn't realize how long micro cementing was going to take. I laid the Ditra pieces out so they could be flat by the time I did this install. Then I just went back and made some adjustments. Similar to the Curdy board install, laying Ditra is also like putting a puzzle piece together. As you're cutting your pieces, you want to make sure to leave a 1/4 inch space between the edge of the Ditra and the drywall. This allows for expansion and contraction, and this part of the install is actually really easy, especially because you can just cut the Ditra with a utility knife, or like me, you can use scissors. Once I was happy with the dry fit, I removed the Ditra and cleaned the floor. I swept and vacuumed and then went downstairs to mix the Schluter all set. Lesson number 1, don't forget to wipe your subfloor. This bathroom is pretty small. There's only about 24 square feet of tile that I needed to install. And this is where I almost made my first big mistake. I started pouring the all set on the subfloor, started to spread it, and then realized, oh shoot, I should have wiped the floor first with a wet sponge. You've got to wipe the subfloor with water before putting down the all set so the subfloor doesn't pull the moisture from the all set. So I quickly took a wet sponge and wiped everywhere I could fit that sponge in that small section where I was gonna lay the first piece of Ditra. Then I started burning the all set into the plywood and then troweled. I laid down my first piece of Ditra and I was so proud of myself. I used a grout float to make sure the Ditra was embedded well, and even though I didn't record this part, I did lift up a corner to check if there was full coverage, and yes, there was. Moving on to lesson number 2, directional troweling. This time I did what I was supposed to do as far as wetting the subfloor before setting down the all set, but I did not do directional troweling. That's when you trowel everything in one direction. I did most of the troweling in one direction, but only about half of the floor where this piece of Ditra was being installed. So notice how I'm literally troweling in all sorts of directions. Ideally, you want it all to be in the same direction to allow the air to escape. I actually didn't realize I did this until I went back and watched this video after the fact. I low-key freaked out. I called the people over at Schluter, and the lady I talked to said the most important thing is the coverage. Because this is a small area, it's probably not a big deal as long as the Ditra is embedded into the thin set. But best practice, yes, trowel lines in one direction to avoid issues in the future. Lesson number 3, when in doubt, buy the extra Curdy band. I ran out of Curdy band and also ran out of camera battery, but basically I didn't have enough Curdy band to patch the seams and seal around the perimeter. I didn't buy an extra pack because I thought I'd have enough. My bad, and unfortunately on this day I wasn't gonna have time to run to the store to get more Curdy band before my thin set dried. So I did as much as I could with what I did have, and I used the rest of the thin set to fill in the waffle squares.
So today I'm gonna put the last piece of Curdy band that goes right here along the tub, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into tiling. That is the nice thing about this Schluter system, is that you technically don't have to wait. I just ran out of time.
I added the last piece of Curdy band right before tiling. The piece I needed to do was right in front of the tub. I added a bead of Curdy Fix to the edge of the tub and set the rest of the band with thin set. And that's how I waterproof my floors using Schluter Ditra.
So see, installing Ditra is actually not that hard. You just need to make sure that you review those steps before doing your installation. Don't be like me, go through your steps. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you want to see the way this bathroom renovation turned out, you know what to do: like, subscribe, notification bell, all the things. I will link all of the products down in the description below. And as always, happy DIYing.